So, The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 4, which was titled Rendition, it was fine. I just like the past 3 episodes. I think I'm gonna say similar things, to be honest. It was just okay, it was fine. It was a good episode, I enjoyed it, but it's not great. I hope I don't say that for every episode, because I would like a couple episodes to be pushing the boundaries a little bit and going into the great territory, but honestly, we haven't quite gotten that yet, and that's okay. I mean, we've had plenty of seasons before where I felt like the episodes didn't start getting to some really good stuff until later on. I'm okay with that. I'm just worried that this is going to be the standard for like the whole season, and I'm hoping that's not the case. This episode, Rendition, we'll talk about, non-spoilers first, and then we'll jump into spoilers a little bit later. So just for non-spoilers, the episode was doing a good job of kind of talking to us about, this is not a spoiler, by the way, letting you guys know that the episode is based around Daryl and the Reapers. Basically, that's the episode. So it's not a spoiler because their previews were showing that and stuff, so I'm not, worried to say that or anything. It's not spoiling anything, but that was the episode. It was based around Daryl and the Reapers, and essentially we learn a lot about the Reapers, and that is good. I think it's good to introduce us to these characters and kind of let us know what they're about. Reminded me a lot of Season 7, Episode 3 in the way that it was kind of, showing this new group through the eyes of Daryl, basically. And it is really good to get to learn a lot about them and get to understand why they're doing the things they're doing. And I think the explanations for it make sense. They don't go deep into it. We don't know the exact story between them and Maggie, but we do know the general idea of them, and they're a pretty interesting group. I think the leader of the group, which you'll meet in this episode, his name is Pope. Probably one of the most interesting characters I've seen in a while in this show. The actor portrays him really damn well, and obviously it's not a comic character. This is completely new for the show, so comic readers have absolutely no idea what to expect. But the whole time I'm thinking watching this episode, if this group does not last at least another like 5 to 6 episodes, then this episode feels worthless, because the episode's sole purpose was introducing the Reapers. It was trying to get us to understand them a little bit, see what's going on with them. And if they don't last that long, I'm going to be sitting here thinking, what the hell was the point of this episode? Obviously you have a big Savior episode, you have the big Whisper episodes and stuff like that they did a couple times. Those are important because these groups last a while. But this group, I always thought was just going to be like a quick thing like the Wolves were, or like the Claimers were, where they kind of just came in and then the group, killed them off within a couple episodes, just as kind of a little boundary, or not boundary, an obstacle for the group to come across. I thought that's what this was going to be. But if they're doing a whole episode to talk about them and kind of get us to know them a little bit, it makes me think they're going to last a little bit longer. And I hope that's the case, because I do want this group of characters to have a bigger importance in the story rather than just being filler until we get to Commonwealth, because that would be kind of unfortunate if it was just a throwaway group and didn't really have much importance to it. I think back to like Slabtown in Season 5. Slabtown was one of the worst episodes because it made a whole episode about this one group that we never saw again after like a couple episodes. Like we saw again for a couple episodes. It kind of did some stuff for Beth, but then Beth dies and then the group never comes back. And the only character that comes out of that story arc was Noah. Noah died like a couple episodes later anyways. So one of the reasons Slabtown is such a bad episode. But this one, it could go down that realm if this group just dies in the next couple episodes. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I have no idea, but at least it does still do some stuff for Daryl. There's some good development for Daryl here, but it's not like any crazy, pushing forward development for Daryl in any way. The episode itself is very dialogue heavy, so if you're the kind of person who just likes action, you're probably not going to like this episode that much. There isn't really much action. I'm not really the type of person who needs action to enjoy an episode, though. There's been plenty of fantastic episodes that have little to no action, so that's not really something on my mind. I do want action, I like action, but it's not it's not a necessity for every single episode, so I'm completely fine with them not having a load of action this episode, because we got a decent amount of scenes in the past couple episodes, so it's not really a big deal. And again, it's trying to just introduce us to this group, so I don't really feel the need to have action. But then again, I do feel like having a 45-minute episode introducing one group does get a little tedious after a certain point, especially when only one character that we know from our prior group is in the episode at all anyways. So, I don't know. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, which is still a good rating. I've seen people narking on me in the comments the past couple episodes, like, what do you mean these episodes are so good? A 7 out of 10 is a good rating. Like, that is good. 5 out of 10 is average, so think about it. Like, it's 2 points higher than average. It's pretty damn good. When we get to the 8s and the 9s, that's like the really, really good episodes. This is definitely not gonna be up there with like the greats and the incredible ones like No Way Out and Too Far. It's not up there. It's just not up there. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Definitely my least favorite of the season so far, but again, it has some purpose to it. It has some meaning. So let's just hop into spoilers, because spoilers are obviously going to be a lot more in depth when it comes to this episode, because there's a lot of things that are spoilery. So the episode begins with Daryl on the run from the Reapers after the attack from episode 2, or the end of episode 2 leading into episode 3. And when I saw this, I was kind of hoping we would see a couple different groups in this episode rather than just Daryl, but I get why they wanted it. I really feel like they could have probably combined this with episode 3. I've been thinking that the whole time I was watching. I'm like, this definitely could have been somewhat like mushed into episode 3, because I felt like episode 3 had a lot of dragged out scenes, so maybe they could have combined them and we didn't have to have 2 whole episodes on both of these things. But regardless, that's besides the point. We do get one scene here where Daryl's fighting this one Reaper, which was really cool. I do like some of these fight scenes, and I think some of the choreography was pretty good, especially for this scene, because Daryl, I mean, Norman Reedus is pretty good with his stunts, at least from what I know, so usually his fight scenes are pretty good. I mean, I think back to like Daryl versus Beta, one of the best scenes in the Walking Dead history. Norman Reedus obviously is very good at this, so it was giving us a really good scene, and I liked it. I want more of that. I want a lot more of that in this show. And then he comes across, of course, Leah. And I was very happy that they did this. I kind of thought they would because of the trailers. The trailers made it pretty clear. I kind of wish the trailers didn't spoil it, because they did. They had shots of her. They had shots of her with Dog, and she had the mask on. But if you could just look at it, you could probably tell pretty easily it's Leah. So it wasn't much of a surprise. But when I saw her, I'm pretty happy. She's got a cool look to her, and I do like them using her for this, because I thought to myself that last season, if they don't bring Leah back in an important role for this show, then that episode that we saw last season was completely worthless. But now the episode has more purpose, and I'm glad they did that. It has more meaning, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. And I think her character in this episode was pretty interesting. She's a very broken person, and obviously she made that pretty clear last season, and I think a lot of the ideas with her were pretty interesting in this episode. And in the scenes where Daryl's getting like waterboarded and shit, I really like that. That was a really gruesome scene, and I like stuff like that. I like when The Walking Dead gets a little bit, I don't want to say edgy, but like dark in a way. And I think that's a good scene just to show that like these people, you know, they're ruthless. They'll do whatever that takes to get information. And Daryl does some really smart stuff here where he pretends to not be a part of that group. He's like, I don't even know who they are. I ran into them on the road. That's not the people I was talking about with you before. And it kind of works, because they eventually bring Daryl into the group as part of their family after doing a really crazy test where I thought for a second they were just gonna straight up execute Leah and Daryl right there, and I was like, holy shit. They get them into this room, light the place on fire, and they have to escape, but essentially it was just a test. Now, I think this is a huge missed opportunity for some really cool stuff even further than this. This isn't really a negative, this is more of just an idea that could have made this a lot cooler. They should have put Daryl through more tests. And I know that sounds like, well, why would we do so many tests like that? But I feel like they could have done some really awesome stuff. And it reminds me back to season 7, episode 10, where Rick was thrown into the pit with the Winslow Walker with the spikes on it. I think this would have been a lot cooler if they gave us a scene where Daryl had to go into like an arena type thing. Like maybe they have like an arena set up somewhere, and there's just walkers thrown at him. Maybe he's like handcuffed and he has to somehow get out. Something cool against walkers, using walkers to try to test him. I think that would have been a lot cooler. Obviously, what they were trying to show here is, would you do whatever it takes to save your brothers or sisters? That's what they call each other, because they're like a cult. They're a very religious cult. We'll talk about the Reapers in a second here. But I really like that concept. But just saving her from the fire, I feel like wasn't really pushing the boundaries of what he's able to do. And I think the Reapers should have been a little bit more ruthless with these tests, make him go through even harder stuff that's even more difficult for him to survive. And obviously Daryl, knowing him, gets out of the situations effectively. That would have made this a lot cooler, in my opinion. I think it would have allowed for better scenes And yeah, you could say, oh, they don't have enough time for that. They could have easily cut a lot of the dialogue in this episode, shortened it down a little bit, and they could have easily fit in a couple more tests here and there that I think could have just been a lot more interesting than just having him escape a shed that's on fire. Just my opinion. I think it was cool and all seeing him escape that shed, but I think they could have done more with that. And then the Reapers themselves, you have the leader Pope, and then you have a lot of the other characters. I like this concept. I've been always saying that I think a religious cult type group would have been an interesting villain to have. I've always had that idea since like season 5, back when we had the Terminus group. I don't know why, but for some reason ever since that I was like, you know what, it'd be pretty cool to have some like really overly religious cultish type group. And this is exactly that. I was not expecting the Reapers to be that, but I'm glad they're that because it's very different. You know what I mean? I like diversity in our villains, and I was hoping not to get another repeat of something we've already seen, because these guys at first seem very similar to a lot of different groups we've seen. You know, similar to the Whisperers in the way that they wear masks, similar to the Wolves in the way that they're very much like primitive, I guess. They act primitive. They're like freaking ruthless animals, it seems. At least that's what they're doing. They're just killing people like it's nothing. It's similar to, I guess, maybe Claimers in the way that they're like kind of like a, you know, very group oriented, which is what I thought at first. And it seems like they were group oriented for the most part until Pope threw that one guy into the fire after realizing that he had wounds on his back. So essentially, if you're not strong enough to take care of your other people, you're not able to, you know, face your fears or face the enemies head to head, and if you run away from your brothers or sisters, that's worthy of getting killed to them. And I think that's a pretty interesting thing going on there, and kind of makes me believe that they're not really group oriented as much as I thought they were, and that Pope is very much a dictator and will kill you if you don't, you know, be as strong as he wants you to be. So I'm assuming he puts these people through a lot of tests and stuff, and I thought that scene at the end of the episode where he throws the one dude in the fire was really well done. Probably the best part of the episode, because it made you go, holy shit, this guy's pretty ruthless. And I kind of wish he did something a little bit different, because we've seen a lot of characters get thrown into fire, but I do like the metaphor behind it. It's like he said something along the lines of like, you either escape from the fire, like fire can be a sign of like I don't know, he was, because Daryl escaped from the fire, essentially he was kind of using it as like a sign of being stronger than the fire, but in this case he was like, the fire can also kill you or whatever, and he tossed the guy in there. Cool scene. But again, I think there was definitely a lot of missed opportunities here, a lot of cooler things they could have done with the story. I like them bringing Leah into the fold, and I like this conflict that is being created between Leah and Daryl. And I hope it ends well. I hope something happens where, I think Daryl, like at first I was thinking, oh, it would be cool for him to have an actual relationship with this woman. And as I saw them lighting the shed on fire, I thought they were betraying Leah right there. And I thought that would make Leah kind of reevaluate her decisions of being part of this family. But obviously it was just a test. She was like, whatever. So I think what's best for the story is that Daryl is forced to kill her at some point. I hope they do that. I hope it's like a situation where she's killing people, or she's about to kill someone that's important to him, whether it's Maggie or someone, and Daryl just shoots her right there. I really hope they put Daryl in that situation, because that would be really good for his character, like really good. So episode was okay. It was good. It was fine. It's just not, it's not what I want though. It's not, I want more than that. I'm always going to push for more. People are like, oh, it's fine the way it is. Look, I like to get the best we could possibly get. Therefore, if I have criticisms, I'm gonna say them. But again, the episode was fine. Just again, hopefully we get even better stuff for the future. And episode 5, just by the preview, looks pretty damn good, so I'm excited. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to see my reaction, that should be posted within the next couple days. I will see you all in my next one. Peace out.